You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible.
All right, folks, social media has been on fire talking about, of course, yesterday's decision by a jury to give 10 years to Amber Guyger, but that's not really what folks have been focused on. That is a couple of things that took place where the judge in that case came off the stand, embraced Amber Guyger, and handed her her Bible. Stories today say that judge led Amber Guyger to Christ. Others have been talking about the brother of both of them, John, coming off the stand and also embracing her as well. But so I want to bring in Dr. Cornell Brooks, former president of the NAACP, ordained minister. He actually had a tweet about that. Let me go ahead and pull that tweet up, folks. I want to show that tweet where he talked about what we saw. And again, a lot of people have been focused on this and talking about what this means. And so I want you to pull the graphic up. Dr. Brooks, explain that. You say, I have preached forgiveness for 25 years, but using the willingness of black people to forgive as an excuse to further victimize black people is sinful. America should ask black people forgiveness for serially asking African Americans to forgive sanctioned police brutality. Now, now we hear that the judge also did it and extended Jesus Christ tour. So just your thoughts about that as well. Do you still believe that should not have happened in the courtroom?
Well, first of all, let me say it's good to be with you. And I just want to be clear here. It's one thing to commend Botham Jean's brother for the magnanimity of his spirit, the generosity of his spirit, his willingness to forgive in the context of deep pain. That being said, it is wrong to praise his forgiveness, willingness to forgive, and use that as an excuse to serially ask black people to forgive again and again and again without taking any responsibility for preventing families from going through what the John family went through. In other words, black people are demanded to extend forgiveness to people perpetuating crimes against them. And frankly, it's just unconscionable. This happens again and again and again. That is to say, the country praises the victims, extending forgiveness to the perpetrators of a crime, and we decline to do anything about preventing the further victimization of black people.
You know, we talked about this on yesterday, and again, it's been very interesting how raw this conversation has been among black folks. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. I think black folks are sitting here. I think black people are not necessarily mad at Botham Jean, although many say the judge, what she did was improper. But it's this whole embracing of, oh my God, look at that. Look how they, and like I said, there was a conservative talk show host in Texas, Mark Davis, who was like, oh, that's forgiveness as opposed to racial revenge. It was as if, you know, that if you don't forgive, the only reason you want Amber Guyger to go to jail is because of racial revenge.
That's right. Let's be clear about this. What we have in this country is people literally participating collectively in an individual act of forgiveness, but they're not collectively participating in an act of redemption, right? So in other words, we commend Botham Jean's brother for this individual act of forgiveness, but when it comes to redemption and restoration as a country, we're not calling for consent decrees to hold police departments accountable. We're not calling for more police officers to be charged, indicted, tried, convicted, and punished. The same people commending Botham Jean's family have done nothing, have been stricken with a case of moral laryngitis in terms of calling for the police reforms that would prevent these kinds of tragedies from happening again and again and again. So, of course, the emotions in our community are raw, and rightly so. This is an absolute outrage, because why should black folks be called upon serially to extend forgiveness without anyone questioning whether, I should say, why it is we who are being called upon to forgive as opposed to others being called upon to be responsible?
RC, your thoughts on what Dr. Brooks just said?
I agree in a lot of ways with what he had to say. The only thing that's kind of unfortunate is that we're still kind of doing this analysis, you know, black people think this, black people think that. Based upon my own sample size of social amplification, I've seen a wide variety and a diverse amount of opinions and kind of reactions to the situation. So I think everyone has a different opinion. I don't think this is necessarily cause for us to sit and overanalyze, especially when, you know, there are things, I don't know. I really just hope black families aren't sitting at home and overanalyzing this when, you know, black families aren't, you know, owning homes and black wealth isn't doing what it should be doing. You know, I just feel like sometimes we overanalyze situations like this.
Well, actually, I think that I'll say this here. My social media platform is a hell of a lot bigger than yours. And so if we look at, I got 2.5 million followers, and I can tell you there's been a whole host of reaction to this. Yeah. Folks have been talking about it. And, Greg, black people can do multiple things at one time. We can analyze this and also care about home ownership. Greg, you put a tweet out that people really cracked up about this very issue. And so I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
Well, brother, I mean, Roland, it's funny, man. Yeah, we laughed at that. In fact, that's one of the benefits of teaching in a black space. And, you know, I made the decision to work in black spaces, like in black media. That's where we're having this conversation. First of all, white opinion, I have no use for any of it. At this point, they have nothing, and there's nothing to be said that I would really think about seriously, because this is racial. But within the black community, this morning, you know, one of our students asked, you know, I was in class, and she said, "Why did he hug her?" And the other young sister, who happens to be from Nigeria, parents from Nigeria, she's actually from Texas. She said, "Well, anybody knows that in order to get a good curse, you got to get close, because you got to get something off their person, off their body." And everybody cracked up. Now, this is a black conversation. Let's be clear. These are Haitians. First of all, you're talking about a teenager. Now, you know, I had a brother come in, a South African brother, a professor on our faculty, Brother Nyandu, this afternoon, and we continued to talk about this in this context. He said, first of all, when you have a family, you don't let the children speak in public like that. There should have been an elder. And if you listen to what Allison John said, you really got a better sense of how this kind of forgiveness thing operated within a larger context. That's number one.
Hold on, Greg. I want you to finish that thought.
Yes.
Because I want to read what she said. This is what she said. What Brant did today, Brant is both of Jean's brother. What Brant did today was remarkable. It's one that we are taught to do. It's one that we must do. But I don't want the community. Hold on one second. I don't want the community to be mistaken of what happened in the courtroom. Forgiveness for us as Christians is a healing for us. But as my husband said, there are consequences. It does not mean that everything else we have suffered has to go unnoticed. We're leaving Dallas this week, but you all must live in Dallas, and you all must try to make Dallas a better place. What you saw and what you heard in the courtroom really showed what your system is, and you must seek to do something about it. You saw a contaminated crime scene. You saw deletion of evidence by persons in high office. You saw turning off of body cams and cameras in the vehicles. You saw investigations that were marred with corruption, and throughout the trial, what I kept saying to myself is, Botham was a child of God, and we know that he did not deserve what he got. The most hurtful part is for me that even after he was shot, he was left to die. That was Botham Jean's mother at a church last night in Dallas. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say very quickly, what Brother Brooks said is very true. We're talking about forgiveness, but we're also talking about justice. And so that's why I said white opinion has no place in this conversation as far as I'm concerned. We have two things operating here. When you hear Sister Jean say, your system, I'm with her. Whether she was born in Haiti or not, I'm with her as an African. That's a very African thing to do. In other words, we're not going to hold on to this. What you saw in that hug as well was a transfer. This white woman killed a black man in cold blood. And guess what? She didn't get forgiven by that by that brother. The forgiveness can't come from him. That was an act of healing for himself and the family. And his mother interpreted that. For this white woman, she'll carry the burden of this. And now the thing has been transferred. That's why the young people are laughing in terms of a curse. A curse ain't no Hollywood thing. We're talking about a transfer of a moral, of an ethical, ultimately of a much larger principle of responsibility. The only other thing I would say is this. When we see Judge Kemp, Tammy Kemp, tell this young lady to, read John 3:16 and she's going to hug her. That is the other thing that's in play here, and I think that is, too, a black conversation. The effect of Christian slavery on Christianity. We're not talking about African Christianity. We're not talking about African black Christianity, the black church. We're talking about the slavery type of Christianity, that can have whiteness never displaced as the center of attention. That judge, as far as I'm concerned, gestured toward a form of slavery Christianity that we've got to exercise from our being, because the Africans around the world who embrace Christianity on their own terms may look at the American Negro and say, no, this ain't what we talking about.
Mustafa, your thoughts?
My thought on it is, has the judge ever come down before and hugged any of the other folks who have been convicted of murder or of another serious crime? For me, I feel that the judge, if she felt it was necessary to help to lead this lady to Christ, she should have went to the jail and done that after the trial was over, and then she could have, lived out and done her missionary work. I'd be completely fine with that. The other part of this conversation that we need to also recognize is the fact that there still is not fairness in the justice system. There's not fairness in the sentencing system. We've had conversations on this show about folks getting significant time for being accused of voter fraud, people having these charges from marijuana being much more significant than 10 years. So, and the last point is that you have 3 African-American men who are on this stage right here today. And if any of us had murdered someone in their apartment and then didn't even try and help them through CPR, and then for just a little while covered it up waiting on some other help to come, we all know that we would not have gotten 10 years, and we would have been lucky if we would have made it out of the apartment if the police came. And what may have happened on the way through the transport system. And of course, we know what would have happened, unfortunately, in the courtroom.
Cornell, I got to ask you this here. As somebody who has been a longtime decision counselor at my church, the Church Without Walls in Houston, Reverend Ralph Douglas West, I can tell you, when I heard the story that the judge led Amber Guyger to Christ, I mean, I can let you know that process takes a little bit longer than whispering a few things in their ear. And again, I'm just being very serious. And so where you literally have to ask that person a series of questions, do you accept Jesus Christ? And then you take them through multiple scriptures. And so when I heard that that's what she did, I was kind of like, I don't know about, I mean, as a Christian, I understand leading folks to Christ. That process take a little bit longer than just saying a few words and handing them, say, read one scripture and here's a Bible. Your final thoughts?
Listen, I don't believe in nanosecond Twitter moment conversions. Conversions are a matter of seeking forgiveness and engaging in redemption. And that means making a commitment to turn one's life around. And so making a decision like that in a courtroom at the hands of a judge, I won't second guess it, I won't judge it, but I'm simply saying that conversion goes way beyond a courtroom moment of stress and anxiety at the point at which you're about to go away for 10 years as opposed to for life in terms of murder. And so I'm not going to question the judge's sincerity, but I'll simply say this. That's the kind of conversation that should have occurred in jail. It should not have occurred in a courtroom, and it's just not appropriate for a judge to do that kind of thing.
Or in a conference room, whatever, because you have to be mindful of those things. Dr. Cornell Brooks, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, the second annual Luxe Jazz experience will be taking place in Los Cabos, November 7th through the 11th. Now, if you want to get your package to attend in person, you can do so by going to LifeLuxeJazz.com, LifeLuxeJazz.com. But if you want to actually check out the live stream, you're going to have 14 different legendary acts performing over 3 days. I told you, comedian actor Mark Curry is confirmed, Gerald Albright, Alex Bouillon, Raul Madon, Incognito, Pieces of a Dream, Kirk Whalum, Average White Band, Donna McClurkin, Shalea, Roy Ayers, Tom Brown, Ronnie Laws, and Ernest Quarles, and more. GFNTV.com is going to be doing the live stream. You can actually get that live stream package for $10.99. That's $10.99. And so all you got to do is go to GFNTV.com to actually do that. So I want you guys to do that. You can get your live stream pass between now and October 30th for $10.99 at GFNTV.com. 3 days of amazing concerts. Don't forget, Roland Martin Unfiltered will be broadcasting from there Thursday and Friday. But again, the live stream pass, live stream pass through GFNTV.com. $10.99 for those 3 days, and so you want to check that out. Of course, GFN TV, this is your world, and it is in your image. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.